Welcome back to the Watch and Cut channel. Today, we're going to be talking about medium-sized knives or moderately sized knives, which I think is kind of the sweet spot for most people. So we're talking anything maybe above 3.3-inch blades to maybe perhaps, like 3.8 max.
Men are pretty concerned about their penis size.
These are going to be kind of your medium-sized grade knives.
At the very least, you've wondered how close you are to average.
And so I brought out some customs, as I did with the small ones, because small custom knives matter. But these, I think, are going to be the ones that matter the most to most people. So I brought out some of these models here. They're all kind of in the custom range of things. And so these are kind of like my medium-size favorite customs, if you will. So I'll just kind of go through them and show you guys some of the stuff that I have. But kind of discuss why this is my sweet spot as far as the size. Now, it really just has to do with, a knife feeling substantial enough in the hand.
That's what she said. Don't you dare.
And for some of us, that's a thing, like some of us like the oversized chunkers and the, much thicker in the hand. Kind of blades. This one is a Robert Carter F16. It's a CPM 4V. Really nice knife. Look at that hollow grind. I think when it comes to Tontos, Robert Carter is like one of the best at it. I mean, wow, look at that grind.
Oh my God!
Anyways, got distracted there. This is a knife I traded for a full custom one-off tough knife that I had Jeff Blauvelt make for me. And it was a beautiful knife, but the thing is that it just was not a knife. It wasn't sharp, it didn't cut well, it was more of like a sculpture. And it was more sculpture and not enough knife. So opportunity came that somebody offered a trade for it for this guy right here. Unfortunately, it didn't come as described, and I had to go send it back to Robert Carter, which was kind of cool because now, I got to get to know him per se, and he did put some extras in there for me. It was not cheap to redo this knife, but had pretty much all kinds of damage on it. You can see it's actually like an engine turn pattern set of colors, which are really nice. That was an idea him and I came up with. And you see a little bit of Timascus right in the center there. That's kind of like wheel pattern. That's all custom. That's like something completely made by Robert all on his own. Some knives that kind of are more like the CNC side of custom things kind of utilize some similar pivot screws that you'll see used throughout the industry. Like you'll see, this pivot on lots of stuff. I can't quite place it right now, but I could tell you right now, here's another one you'll see a lot. I've seen this pivot on quite a few other things before. So like when you see people making custom knives, not everybody makes their own hardware, but some makers actually do. And that's not common, to tell you the truth. That's when you're really getting to the much more like high-end type makers. But I would say Robert Carter is most definitely one of those makers. Now this is ivory paper micarta. It's beautiful. You got these really deep bronze liners with a little hint of purple. The typical F16 blade pattern that he does. And the liners have actually been jeweled, and I'm trying to get enough sunlight here to show it off. But kind of just like on the pivot colors, we matched it up the same way. And then the clip and the bolsters are all made of zirconium. And you can tell they kind of have a purple green hue. They call that oil slicking. which is something I've never had on a knife before. So I asked him, hey, is this something you could do? And I think he executed it. Well, I think he killed it. It looks pretty awesome. There's a good look at it right there. So this is my Robert Carter F16. These are kind of, I'm going to say these are a little harder to find on the market. If you want an F16, most likely you'll have to be on his Facebook group. But honestly, anything related to Robert Carter, when it comes to Robert Carter knives, and specifically his specific only custom, because he does a lot of collaboration, the Facebook group is the best place to reach him. That's how I got a hold of him to get this baby all fixed up. Next up is actually a very appropriate knife for the stack here. This is the first time I ever ordered a custom knife. Now, I had bought other custom knives. I bought this one way prior years ago. This is a full custom prototype Recon from Doc Schiffer. And I had bought this many years ago. But to order one and do all your own materials, which is something that, you know, a lot of my friends know I do a lot of. Yeah, this was the first product of what came out. It's a lie! It's a lie! And I think this knife absolutely kills it. This is the second iteration. Me and Casey have become buddies over the years. And so originally we did a full polish blade. But now we rebladed it with the Damasteel blade. And not all makers will reblade a knife. They'll a lot of times say, no, you know, I'll just make you a new knife. And that is something pretty cool that Casey had no problem doing. And as you can see, there's no blade plate or any of that stuff. And so that just tells you about how much warranty power you have buying a knife from Casey. I mean, if you snap the blade, you can almost guarantee that Casey most likely will be able to replace it. As long as it's not something probably insanely one-off or whatever, you know, because he does do some quite crazy stuff at times. But this is a Chupacabra, medium size. I've seen this thing in 4 different sizes. He does a mini, and I've seen 2 sizes larger than this one. You got a beautiful 3D zirconium clip to go with this kind of toxic side finish. It looks really cool on this side. And the thumb stud are made of carbon fiber, just like the scales, and which has copper on the inside. And this is kind of like the lightning strike carbon fiber, but with copper weaved into it. So it's a really nice knife. When I sent it out to get rebladed, Casey also did the clip at that time, because before that we had a superconductor clip, but it just wasn't really stellar the way that one came out. So he just nailed it with this one. That was perfect. But he also added a zirconium pivot collar, which I hadn't even asked him to do, which is really quite nice of him.
That's nice.
Another thing that he did is he upgraded the knife to ceramic detent and ceramic bearings. So now the knife is just unbelievable in action.
I like that. All right.
Now, when you compare this knife to other knives on the table, some knives here are more handmade and some are a bit more like machine made, which is a whole different art of its own. But this is more of like a handmade, a bunch of really cool materials that honestly he contours really, really well. So I'm a big fan of Casey. Go check him out. Old Dominion Knife Works. Makes all different types of knives, which are really quite cool to check out. So the next one on the line here is going to be the Kurt American Phantom. Now this one is really quite cool because it's got a nice twist of Japanese bladesmithing with the hamon.
Konnichiwa.
Now, I really like the way Kurt does his knives because they have their own feel and sound to themselves. And in this one here, we did use Westinghouse micarta because that's kind of the cool thing to do. But it has obviously this nice old vintage look to it with the pivot colors on the inside. Now the hamon with this blade steel is more something you'll find usually on fixed blades, and go check out my video. I did a whole review on this guy already, but this knife is just absolutely spectacular execution. You can see everything centered. You can see the bolstered lock configuration, and this is still to this day Kurt's only bolstered lock. You got the nice low profile zirconium clip, really delicately sculpted, and you also have a really nicely milled backspacer that's just completely smooth. The blade is nice and tucked away in there, but when it comes out, it's
Swing, swing,
surprisingly stout.
tentpole.
You have like a tanto profile with a nice hamon, which reminds you of an old samurai soldier's sidearm. It used to be like a Bushido blade, which was a little bit smaller, kind of a blade shape like this. So it does have some Japanese influence. He's an American custom knife maker out of Florida. Go check out Kurt. He's a great dude and great knife maker. So next one here is we have this Doc Schiffer custom Recon.
Recon Platoon kicks butt.
Now this is actually one of my very first custom knives I purchased. And this one's an N690. It's got this heavy tumble wash on it. And you can see these nice bronze liner with this nice milled backspacer here. Now this one is a liner lock version, and typically they came in a frame lock. So this is a prototype, and it came with this zirconium clip, which in all honesty doesn't work all that well. It's extremely tight, and you know, I get it. The idea was just to have nothing really affecting the grip, and that it does really well. It acts like a little pad, if you will, on your hand, so never cuts into your hand when you're using it. But as a knife clip, just doesn't work all that well. I think I might have to tighten this one up. It came a little loose here. Another thing too is the detent ball came out like 3 times on this knife. So on the 3rd time, Doc actually welded a little detent rod in there, and it gave it a whole different sound. And it works really well, actually. It's never failed since. So good job, Doc. This one held together, buddy. Other than that, this knife is just really, really well made. Go check out Doc Schiffer. He did also appear on Forge and Fire if you guys want to go check him out there.
Doc, you're up first. You ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right, Doc, let's talk about your set here. I love the feel of your buoy, and I can thrust and slash without any issues at all. Now, your tomahawk, good weight to it. You can definitely feel an impact, and it definitely slashes nicely when you're trying to cut. Will kill.
Nice.
I think he did an awesome job making it was like a Bowie knife and a tomahawk combo, which was a lot of fun. Also a veteran, that hence the word Doc or the name Doc. That's because he was a corpsman, I believe. I can't remember if he was a corpsman or an army medic. He was one of the two. But he is a veteran and a good old boy. So let's go to the next one here. We have an Olamic compact Wayfarer. It's a compact custom Wayfarer is really what it is. And here you go. It's got a CTS XHP compound grind blade which is really, really nicely mirrored finished. And you know, mirror is hard to take pictures of. It's hard to keep from scratching. It's a fingerprint magnet, but it just looks so damn good. So for me, having one or two in the collection it's kind of necessary. But yeah, so this knife I came across, this was supposed to be a knife that they sold at the Vegas show, and there's two of them, but one of them ended up in my possession and the other one went to my buddy before they got to Vegas. So that was kind of cool. So this is a one of two, and the other one looks identical to mine, except mine's got a little bit more purple hue with a little bit more gold, and his has got a little bit more blue to it. So they looked identical, almost, just a little different coloring. This is just titanium, really, but they came up with this cool finish along with Mike Vagnino, another custom knife maker to be credited to it, is the entropic finish, which comes out with this really nice, stunning colors. There's a lot of knife modders doing this. And I mean, I had Stasa do a really cool chamois production knife for me. That was really nice. I really like this. This is super cool. But this one just came from Olamic exactly like this. So I like the Olamic product quite a bit. You guys saw I had the Busker on the last video, and as far as the Wayfarer series, that's another set of knives that I really like. So that's the Olamic Compact Wayfarer. Big fan of the company. Some of the things I like to highlight about this knife, of course, the blade grind is really nice. A lot of nice flare to kind of give it more of a spear point appearance, and then keeping it a lot more thin here for any kind of like woodwork or whatnot. Not that I would use this on any sort of outdoors purposes, but I guess it could do it. So there you go. Yeah, they're all serialized on the inside here. Might be a little hard to see, but you got this nice kind of flat clip, same design, kind of like the dock, where you get really, you know, nothing sharp protruding into your palm. But this one does work, actually. This one works quite well. So there you have it. This is the Olamic Custom Wayfarer Compact. Now the next one is by another one of my favorite knife makers. This is by Michael Zeba. This is a Angry Bird.
Whew, more like terrifying.
The S4, and in the copper edition. Now, he made, I think, about 20 to 25 of these only in the entire series of making any S4s. And this actual one used to belong to Jim Skelton.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. Today we're going to take a look at a new limited offering from Michael Zeba called the S4 Angry Bird. And you might be able to tell why it's called the Angry Bird just by looking at that cool pocket clip.
Now, I used to have one that I bought directly from Mike, and I sold it to a friend in Hungary who I believe still has it too. And over the years, I regretted selling it because I really missed it, but I sold it to get a Shirogorov F95. So at the time, you know, I don't know. Anyways, years later, Jim was selling this one, which is identical to the one that I had, except mine had Nitro V steel. This one's AEBL, which honestly, they're pretty similar. Mike did put this razor sharp edge on it, mirror finish. There's the Angry Bird clip that you can see. You got all this milling in here. Now this knife, when you carry it, it does have that particular kind of like copper smell to it. And the detent used to be almost finger breaking with this thing. So it wasn't really like very drop shut or anything like that. But like some of my other knives, the detent ball fell out. So after all these years, that can happen, guys. They just, you know, they're pressed in a lot of times, and sometimes they'll come apart. So I sent it to Mike, and he put a new detent ball in there, and now it's got a nice light detent. It's got a really nice snappy sound to it. And then you can actually get this guy closed relatively smoothly. So good job, Mike. Thanks for fixing this one and improving it. Next one we have on the table here is going to be the Holtz Specter. Now, the Holtz Specter is a knife that is near and dear to my heart because this one was actually one that the Holtz made specifically for me. Got to pick my own anodizing, my own frame colors, pretty much all my own specs. Now, I should have gone and added a Damascus clip like an idiot, but in all honesty, I always thought this knife should be a nice, good work knife. And so having like an expensive clip, you know, I don't know. I always thought maybe I'll get another one that's full dressed or something like that. Anyways, because of the way the prices go with these things, this is probably the only Spectre I'll own. But I do keep it around because I do like it. And Angie was gracious enough to let me get one made. So it's kind of like one of those things I just really don't feel justified selling it. Because, you know, it kind of another knife that you opened up a relationship with the maker. Now, the Holtz Specter is just kind of that sweet spot in the handle. I love the milling texture to it, and they do a really incredible job coming up with kind of neat little designs, things that just constantly improve with the knife. One of the things that I like that they do is they do an adjustable detent. Although I have heard a lot of them come apart when people try to adjust them. But that could be just people over torquing a small screw. So there you have it. But this is the V4. I used to have a V3 prior, but the V4 is the liner lock version. Great knife. Highly recommend one. You can find these on the secondary market for around $1,200 nowadays. So go check them out. This is a Skiff made blades drifter. And this is one of the early ones, I think. What number is this one? I think it's number 14. Yep, number 14. They usually etch the numbers on the inside right there. Anyways, this knife also used to look a little bit different. It used to look like this. It had gold on the pocket clip, gold textured, everything pretty much on it. And I sent it back and just got it dressed up a little bit more with the back spacer, the clip, and both pivot colors. Now, the Skiffs are always known for these really massive pivot colors. And I got to say, their milling process and their final product is always just so flawless. Just the action of the knife, the way everything locks into place. It's just really, really done so precisely. So kind of the precision thing is kind of like the highlight with these two guys. And these are both knives that you can relatively find pretty easily. Next one here is another Zeba. Now this one's kind of unusual to have on the stack, but I do like carrying it because it's kind of unusual. It's a full custom slip joint in Damasteel and with titanium liners and carbon fiber scales.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
It's just kind of a weird combo for something that is a slip joint or a non-locking knife. So, but I really like the way Mike did this one. It's got these beautiful blue polished liners. And this is the cookie carbon fiber on it, where it's got kind of a brown and a white finish. You got a very nice, beautiful Damasteel blade, kind of a classic harpoon drop point. And you know Mike always likes to do the harpoon blades, kind of like this one as well. But this one's called the Heritage. And despite being a slip joint, you can take this one apart. You got these blue titanium screws here, and it is a slip joint.
Okay.
It's very nice, no blade wrap or any of that. It's just a really nice high-end slip joint. Now you notice here I got this pouch because it carries a pocket clip. So that's a way that I can carry this knife, honestly, without worrying about it banging around the bottom of my pocket. I use this German-made clip slip from DP Leatherworks. Go check them out on Instagram. All right, so now we got this one here. This is going to be the Trevor Burger LEXk CFL. And this one actually was one of the first times he ever used fat carbon. There was a run about 10 of these that he was going to do around Christmas time, or I think it was a run of 20. And I jumped on the Instagram post and got this knife back in 2019. Now I like this one a little bit more than the one I showed on the last video because it's a little bit more my speed when it comes to size. This is the Arctic Blue Fat Carbon. You have this really nice milled titanium scale, and you also have just this, you can even see there's a little bit of CNC milling lines right here on the clip as well. Trevor Burger Customs, that's what TBC stands for, and he's got a little titanium pivot color on both sides. And the action is just, I mean, you just got to be real careful because it's a guillotine pretty much. It's just as easy to open. You can see I can roll this one open as well. Snaps out with authority. But, you know, again, front flippers are not for everybody because they are, you know, a little different as far as kind of the way your fingers operate. And with this kind of stuff right here, it can kind of dig into your finger a little bit over some time. So I've already developed some calluses on this, but yep, this is one of my favorite front flippers from South Africa, Trevor Burger. Now another South African knife maker I'm going to mention right here, and this one is in walrus tusk. That's what that stuff is. Looks quite unique. It's kind of a nice ivory. And this guy does knives, mostly fixed blades and some folders. This particular model is called the Mamba. And I like this knife because of its simplicity. It's got just kind of this flair of country.
That's a knife.
You know, like backwoods kind of thing. And of course, with this ivory on it, I mean, as I've said in like the last video, I really like the blend of fossilized materials with titanium and, you know, kind of more modern type designs. Now, this one's got a little indent right here, so you can spidey flick it. But it is relatively designed to be a flipper, or conventionally designed to be a flipper. It flips nice, almost kind of feels like a Sebenza flipper, if you will. Almost has that look as well, with the kind of same tumbled finish titanium. But I really like this. It's really thinly ground. So this is actually designed to just be a cutter. So it's a very unique knife, very nicely made from Arnold Bernard. So go check him out. He does runs on these every once in a while. He makes these in slip joints as well, and all kinds of other cool knives. Now, the last one here that we're going to talk about is the Damian Smallsaurus. Now, this knife is from Croatia, and this is kind of like another sweet spot knife for me. Now, the cutting edge isn't really all that long, to be quite honest, but with the tall bevels and the hollow grind, it's got a lot of cutting power. It's made of a CPM 3V. Wow! So it's pretty good stuff. And I'm glad that it is a bit impact resistant. It's more leaning towards folding over on the edge rather than chipping. But it's a really nice knife. He did kind of a bark finish is what he calls it on this titanium. And then I sent him an order for a pocket clip. The original pocket clip is this bark finish as well. But I just felt like the knife just needed a little bit more flair. So he did this tight Damascus pocket clip for me. The back spacer looks awesome. It almost makes it look like it's an integral because it's just such tight proportions. Now this guy's kind of what I consider a bit of a master when it comes to making knives, because this has got some of the best tolerances, but it is completely handmade. And when you look at Damian making stuff in his workshop area, he uses a lot of old mills, like stuff that people used to use like 30-40 years ago. So he's using old school technology, but he's still coming up with these really nice, awesome blades. And I like this knife. It's just super comfortable. It's just been a knife I just can't find myself to let go. It's definitely something I like to keep in the collection, and it's a good, nice, medium-sized knives. Now, are these menacing? A lot more menacing? I would say so. But as far as a cutting tool, this is where I'm going to feel like I'm going to make it through the end of the day, no matter what I'm looking to cut through. So, you know, it's just what I prefer on a day-to-day basis. But for the office, you know, the smaller knives are definitely a lot easier and no fuss. But these are some of my medium custom knives that I thought I'd share with you guys that I thought were notable ones to recommend. So make sure you subscribe, like the video, and leave comments down below. And we'll catch you guys all on the next one. This is the Watch and Cut channel, out.